Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Poetry Bomb. You know, I just heard that of all of the allergy-prone cities in the United States, the top 3 are in Texas. Guess what? Where I am right now is in one of those top 3. It's the most allergy-filled towns in the nation. And, you know, we had a February that was painfully dry and a March and April that were surprisingly wet, so lucky us. Sinuses are great, but you know, don't y'all love that? I'm in front of St. Mary's Cathedral here in downtown Austin, and for the Poetry Bomb, I was going to share with you the first section of poems from Genesis, book part 3 section of the Book Testament, which is a cyberwit book that was just released, I believe, in March of this year. I hope you enjoy them. Testament. Anyway, I hope you enjoy these poems. There's a block of them. I thought it was only fitting to share with you poems from the first book in the Old Testament for the Poetry Bomb here right in front of St. Mary's Cathedral. First one is Genesis 1. Before the beginning, there was nothing. In the beginning, the abundance of everything was trapped into a microscopic speck of nothing and decided to become energy, expand, break free. But here's the dilemma for the average Joe. Oh, wait a minute, you say there was nothing. It's hard to imagine, but if there was no space, how does energy expand into nothingness? Ah, now you're starting to understand what all those great minds and saints have been trying to grasp. In the beginning, space was created by the expanding energy. And in the beginning, there was no form. In the vacuum of space, there was no matter. Only when energy of hydrogen electrons passed through the Higgs field to trade some energy for matter, that's when the void and darkness was given form. Let there be light, and so it came to be as particles energetically sped away from each other at faster and faster speeds than the human brain can imagine. And as time came to pass, this energy made stars. Let there be more light above the orbiting rocks. Let there be firmament, where celestial orbs scatter through darkened skies, surrounding and circling these stars as they all spin together to share their cosmic ride through the heavens, expanding farther, faster. As spinning slows and temperatures subside, let orbiting ice from the sky shower water on these celestial orbs, and let there be seas, separated by stone and rock we call dry land. And on this one place that we now call Earth, with seas separating land, bring forth grass, herb yielding seeds, fruit trees yielding fruit. Time was divided to day and night. Let it be so. A greater light ruled the day, a lesser light ruled the night, and we saw that this was good. Once on this earth, teeming with the primordial ingredients for light, let there be life, created in the waters, brought forth abundantly, and every living creature will moveth across the land. And now, nature could be fruitful and multiply, and so it was, where more was created in its image. As more and more grew, more and more learned how to live on the lands separated by seas to better suit their natural environment, to grow, to survive and thrive, to further multiply and be merry. And to the creatures of this blessed earth, they shall have dominion over what they can harness with every green herb for meat. And it was so. Behold this thing that was made. It was very good. After all this work and all that was made, rest and appreciate all of this great creation. The planets, the rain that falls after humankind tills the soil, breathing into your nostrils the breath of life. I just read you a Genesis 1 poem. I love that it is in the beginning of section 3. Now we have to close the book of Testament. I'm going to share the next one. This is Genesis 2 and 3. His father said, I was made for him, and we shall be of one flesh. You would think we would have to be perfect for each other, but when you're alone with only one man, your choices are limited. Now, we live on this beautiful land with beautiful gardens and beautiful food, and even though this was never explicitly said to me, I got the impression I shouldn't touch or eat fruit from the tree of knowledge because I shouldn't understand good and evil. All I could think was, what a ludicrous thought! Who would be so demanding and foreboding to forbid us from knowing right from wrong? No matter what the fruit, no matter that the fruit looked so succulent, no matter that I wanted to learn or grow, why would you want the ones you claim to love to remain so utterly ignorant? If you knew better, if you know better, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is ignorance. So when it was suggested to me that I could be godlike if I only tried this fruit, I thought, I couldn't die from touching this knowledge, eating its fruit, or learning from it. So I did what I had to do, and anyone with drive or ambition or desire to learn would do the same. So, in my desire to be wise, I ate this fruit, and I saw that it was good. Then I realized that maybe being the only one around here that was wise wouldn't be a good idea. Maybe the only man I've ever known could stand a little more knowledge too. I offered him the food. He knew the rules and decided to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge anyway, even though his daddy said no. Now, you may think it's short-sighted or childish to have issues with father figures, but if you knew a man with this much pent-up rage, you may think differently. It did not matter to this old man who would never just get up and die that I was the mother of all living. I knew better, and I had to suffer under his wrath because he didn't believe a woman should be smart. In this little time I first spent with this one man, I missed out on the tree of life, but at least I got to learn a thing or two about how life really is, even though this ultimately means that we women will always fight an uphill battle, wondering if we can ever truly win. Ladies and gentlemen, those were Genesis 1 and 2 and 3 from the book Testament. I've shown the book off, but this is my favorite one, actually, the early Genesis poems that are in this book. This is Genesis 4, Cain and Abel, and sin from killing. 2 sons were born of a woman who lived in a land where their Lord told them that they had dominion over the creatures, but more importantly, that every green herb was for meat. Not animals, but greens. And they saw this was so, and they thought that this was good, as their first son tilled the ground to create great food, herbs, fruit, and vegetables. And knowing this was a peaceful way to provide a healthy sustenance to his family, the first son was pleased with this work. But the first young saw his younger brother tend to flocks of sheep instead, then slaughter them as offerings. How unholy, the older brother thought. How barbarian, how antithetical to the peaceful way we're supposed to be. The older brother knew he was on a morally higher ground, but when the Lord was pleased with the slaughter offering from his younger brother, the older brother was lost. What have I done wrong? The older brother thought. Have I not followed the Lord's way? Have I not done what the Lord wanted? And did I not prosper by being peaceful? The older brother couldn't understand how slaughtering animals and extracting the fat to give away was thought of as good. And as the older brother's darkest fears swelled, he heard the Lord say unto him, If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? Yes, if my Lord abided by his own rules, thought the older brother. This offhanded question from the Lord that opposed morality flew the older brother into an internal rage because he had done well, and for this he had gained no respect with the Lord for his deeds. And more importantly, to the older brother, his younger brother actually gained respect by explicitly being disrespectful. Where can morality lie when our Lord cannot be moral? The older brother wondered, contemplating what to do. Soon after, the younger brother came to the older brother as he worked in the fields, and an argument ensued about morality, and in a blind rage, the older brother killed the younger. Which kind of killing is more of a sin, the older brother thought. But eventually the older brother heard the Lord ask him, Where is your younger brother? And the older brother responded he did not know. He was not his brother's keeper. After this, the older brother wondered, shouldn't the Lord, if he is all-seeing and all-knowing, shouldn't he already know? Or is this just another test of my will? And how is my will tested when I am shunned for doing the right thing and my younger brother is praised for sinning? The older brother, understanding morality, could hear his younger brother speak to him from beyond the grave, and after the older brother truly acknowledges sin after burying his brother in the ground, no food for the ground tasting sweet would grow from his land again, no matter how he tended the soil. As if the blood of his younger brother contaminated all of the older brother's tried to grow. He wondered, if the world knew of the sin of the older brother committed, would they care of the sins of the younger? Do they not hear the cries of all they have killed, for all that has been killed for them, for a death-filled meal? Which lives are worth saving? The older brother thought, and he then left the land, but that would no longer grow for him. Although many may have killed him for the act that he had done to his brother, the Lord understood the morality of the older brother's choices and protected him. He protected him to live in a world that is now filled with people wanting to kill for food when they should not and do not need to. The world the other brother was born into is truly a cruel and uncaring world, and the older brother, after one immoral act, was stuck living in a world where slaughter was eaten at every meal and violence like this had become the norm. And sadly enough, this is a world the oldest brother feared the most. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am sharing with you Genesis poems. They're in the beginning of section 3. And I'm going to, well, I won't show you the pages, from the book Testament. There, it comes in different parts. Part 1 is a lot of post-Roe v. Wade poems, which is very relevant because the Bible Belters are changing that. Part 2 is dealing with issues of pain, suicide, and morality. And then parts 3 and 4 are the first book of the Old Testament and the last book of the New. So I'm going to share with you a few more poems from section 3, the third part of this book. This is, oh, I love doing the voices for this one. Hi, you. This one is Genesis 6 through 9, and Apocalypse, Doomsday Prepper's Take. Here we go. Everyone's been seeing the signs. People who believe in global warming are screaming that tornadoes, typhoons, hurricanes, and tsunamis are now on the rise. And you know, they're probably right. I mean, wherever you think is the cause, something's most definitely up. And if nature's not the culprit, then it's the evil of man. You think I'm wrong? Then just hear me out. Floods may destroy the U.S. eastern coast, and sure, that sucks. But if humans weren't so stupid as to build so close to the shoreline, they'd be fine. In California, wildflowers destroying tons of trees and homes, but if the government would allow brush clearing, those fires wouldn't spread so damn fast. But if it's not humans and weather, then it's probably humans taking religious sides and attacking each other for it. Muslim terrorists want to destroy Christianity because of their wealth. Christians want to bomb abortion clinics and throw in some anti-Semitism into that pot. And trust me, there's a lot of hatred there. Mix it in with past burning of witches, translation, hatred of women because they were smart. And it amounts to hatred and evil of all mankind. I can remember the paranoia starting with nuclear bomb shelters, and don't forget the insane duck and cover mentality to appease the ignorant. I mean, Japan's Godzilla was even a metaphor for nuclear weapons to show ultimate destruction no matter who started it, that man couldn't control. Listen to this. School shootings are happening about once every 10 days now. Do you really need me to argue that the planet's going down the tubes? I mean, I know that now we may be living longer and longer, but the wickedness of man grips at my heart, and I fear that the end is near. I truly believe my only option for real grace in these times is to prepare myself for the end so I can survive it and that we can just start this world anew. I mean, I can't repent for what others have done, for the violence, for the corruption. I could only try to be righteous and try to help the ones I love to save us and even wildlife from total destruction. I'll build a shelter. I'll use a gopher wood or cypress wood. I'll waterproof it. Think of my covering this shelter as atoning for all that we may have done so that we can survive, so that we can start a new and a barren new world. So now, okay, I've stockpiled. I'm ready with MREs and meals ready to eat. Water rations, basic first aid, even stuff saved to make fire or preserve stuff too. We'll be happy to wait days, months to be free again. And don't call me crazy, but if you do, that's fine too. It'll be me saving humanity and all the animals on Earth. And when I open my shelter, the birds will fly free, and every creeping thing can creep upon the earth again. I'll rebuild again because I have been delivered. I have learned that cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. What will cease in my heart is the killing of man. When I shed human blood, I shed my own. And if I love life, I love all life. This is my covenant with me and man and the earth. I will plant again, make my family and this world grow until I die. Oh, this one's fun. I don't know if I have one or two. Don't know how many more I have left. I think we're gonna like maybe 19 for you guys, but right now I'm gonna do Genesis 11. This one's so fun. This is the Tower of Babel, and it's actually spelled B-A-B-B-L-E in this book. The Tower of Babel. At the beginning, there was the great town of Babel. Back then, all came from different lands. They spoke the same language and speech, and all were revered in this one sacred place. Eventually, the people in the town of Babel realized that the only place where different societal types can genuinely get along with each other is in heaven. So they decided to build a tower, one so tall, taller than any skyscraper you could ever imagine, so that it could actually reach heaven, and people could be like gods. So people from different lands came together to create brick and mortar for this tower to the sky. Now, they say they once all had the same language, But with enough time apart, people created new words for the new things in these different environments, and before you know it, no one could understand each other at all. Even the Valley Girls and the girls from Sherwood, Ohio, even spoke their own weird, close verse. I mean, the towns were close, but they seemed to speak different languages. "What's your damage?" the Ohio girl would ask. "Like, gag me with a spoon," the Valley Girl would answer as they would babble. What? Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?" "Like, take a chill pill. You're such a pillowcase, but you're like grody to the max." And they would continue this tirade of insults that no one could understand. When thinking about the tower to heaven and Babel, these girls could only at least agree that that still stating in their dialects, "This so totally tubular," and "This is so very." As people came from far and wide to build the bricks to this great building, men from the east came exclaiming this was "Oroston Antrebo Jevotu," while women from the south and the east said that this building to heaven was "Magakarangaga Spiritual Sabuhay," and "Shabem Nevoyan Viatso" was extolled by women from the north and the mid-east, while men from the east and the south exclaimed that the Tower of Babel was "Que necesitamos en la vida," even if they were all probably saying the exact same thing. More people came from other lands saying more things no one could comprehend, and so it came to pass that no one knew what materials to use to build this sacred tower, to build the best bricks for this imagined tower. So, no, they never built their tower to the sky. No stairway to heaven has been made in any giant tower. But it's good to know that even though there are plenty of language barriers, humankind can share a station at the edges of our sky to learn not only about the earth from the way up high, but also about the earth deep down at the bottom of the seas and all over this land, making earth a bit more like the one place we all imagine, the one place we all never so impractically as tried to build a tower to. We can all do things here to make Earth a little more like heaven. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to share with you one more Genesis poem. It's a long one. Sorry. Genesis 18 to 19. I'm seeing it in my open book here. This is from the book Testament. This is a Cyberwit book that is just published this year. It comes in different sections, and I am sharing with you right now the last poem from this series that I'm going to share with you in this reading from Genesis. This is a long one, and it gives homage to Chicago, where the Poetry Bomb actually started. This is Genesis 18 to 19. She was taken away from her city. She loved this city, but had no choice. She was told it was for the best, and she always did what she was told. After leaving, for years, she heard reports about the violence in her city. She would hear of so many killed, even during celebrations for the Lord. While away from the city that she loved, she would even hear people ask her questions about how dangerous the city really was. All she could give was her word that the entire city was not that way. Only one small section of the town was to be feared, and the rest of the city was wonderful. But she was away from her city. She could no longer walk down the streets, the ones that made her feel safe, and the ones she feared. She wanted to have that back. She wanted to be back in her city, her home. Her blood ran hot as this town, and her pulse matched the rhythm that she felt in her home. Her blood pressure rose ever since she was taken away, and she couldn't get herself in sync. So she made a point to come back after a year and a half. The people changed, but the pulse of the town stayed the same. So she would go to her old stomping grounds, and although she knew no one by name, she was still treated like this was where she belonged. It broke her heart when they said she had to go again, so she had to leave the only place attuned to her soul to live out her days away. Another year plus later, she returned once more, and while there, even found a place where she could worship. And sitting there gave her an inner peace that she hadn't felt in her years away from this city that made her complete. It approached the time when she would have to be taken away again. So she returned to her sacred place she had just found and tried to come to peace again before she had to leave, and she couldn't commune. She was so tense and wound up that she had to leave, that anything associated with any religion that could begin to help her, it couldn't even help. So after finding failure everywhere in her last days in her city, while she stopped at a bridge to look beyond the river to take one last look at the city, just then a bearded old man, old but disturbingly ominous, walked up, turned to the city, and stood next to her on the bridge. She did not know this man, and it alarmed her when he started to speak to her. The cry of the city is great, and their sin is very grievous, he said, and she was shocked the stranger spoke these words to her. This entire city is not like that, she said. It's not riddled with crime. I have seen that violence here, he replied, of young men shooting what they claim are enemies and then killing mothers and children alike, he answered. But I tell you, it's not the entire town, she explained. There are good people here everywhere. It's a wonderful place to see and to be. If it's only in one small area, the old ominous man said, then why is it that we're looking downtown, down toward where the police force, the ones who are supposed to protect and serve, why do we look where they shoot unarmed people repeatedly? She suddenly remembered reading the story of a cop shooting an unarmed man 16 times in the street, even after one shot made the boy drop to the ground, and it was only the energy from the extra 15 bullets that made the victim move. A fear gripped her. Maybe her city has gotten worse since she had left, but still, she didn't care. She'd take her chances. This was her home. The old man saw her lost in thought, so he asked her, I believe you said that there are good people everywhere here. How many can you name? That is where she finally turned toward him. He was staring right at her, and her eyes were saucers. She paused. She blinked. I don't live here anymore, she finally said. Find me 50, the old man said. Or maybe name 5 names. He didn't even give her a chance to respond before the old man said, could you even give me one name? Just one, other than you, who no longer even lives here? I don't have to prove anything to you, says all that she could answer. This is when the old ominous man stepped closer to her. Young lady, I believe you, he said.